Toni Kroos' life is one of the greatest puzzles in footballing history. I mean, how do you capture the story of a man who sees everything? From an early age, Toni figured out school wasn't for him. He didn't fail at school, but he didn't exactly stand out either. He was mid. Luckily, Kroos figured he had a special connection with football and that he can manipulate the round leather in a way that no one could. So he made the decision to become a footballer under the guidance of his father, Roland Kroos, who worked as a youth coach. At 12, Kroos' choice led him to Hansa Rostock, where his father worked at the time. The teenager's talent did not go unnoticed. Bayern Munich, the largest club in Germany, came calling when Kroos was 16. The kid would become a man under the Bavarian youth setup. He learned to trust himself, develop his own opinions, and build a winning mentality. Kroos got promoted to the senior team the following year and became Bayern's youngest ever player to make an appearance at the time. Not many of us remember his debut against little-known Energie Cottbus, but Kroos did put on a show for the fans, coming from the bench to assist Miroslav Klose twice as Bayern routed their opponents 5-0. Kroos then stole the spotlight at the Under-17 World Cup in Korea. He scored 5 goals and recorded 4 assists that earned his side a third-place finish at the tournament. His performances earned him the award for the best player of the tournament, and at that point, Kroos was well on his way to becoming one of the brightest footballing talents ever seen. However, the journey would come with its fair share of bumps. Despite his growing resume in the game, Kroos found games hard to come by at Bayern Munich and faced the terrifying prospect of his career slowing down. Once again, the young midfielder showed his ability to make the right choice by going on loan to Bayer Leverkusen. Over his 18-month spell at the club, Kroos reminded his employers that they had a gem on their hands and that they needed to bring him back home. There was no way Bayern Munich would ignore a player who had 21 goal contributions in 33 games in his final season at Leverkusen. Even though Leverkusen fought hard to keep him, Bayern Munich made it clear that they intended to welcome him back to the squad. Upon his return, Kroos had become a different animal. Mario Gomez praised his technique, calling it very refined. As he had just returned from representing Germany at the 2010 World Cup, in which the nation finished third, Kroos' return to the club was heralded as a triumphant one, the return to Germany's crown jewel. Toni Kroos wasted no time in establishing himself in the team, but although he did play frequently, the club had an underwhelming season by its usually high standards. But for Kroos, his stocks continued to grow over the next couple years. By the end of the 2012 and 2013 season, Kroos had written his name into the history books as he formed the core of a team that became the first German side to win the treble, the Bundesliga, UEFA Champions League, and the DFB Pokal. As his status in Munich grew, Kroos' profile all over the country soared. He was part of the Germany team that reached the semi-final of Euro 2012. But although he had tasted success with Bayern Munich, finding that sweet feeling with his nation proved elusive. That situation would change 2 years down the line at the 2014 World Cup held in Brazil. Many pundits tipped Brazil for success at this tournament, but Toni Kroos and his teammates showed up like they were on a personal mission to annihilate the host nation. They pummeled the South Americans 7-1 in the semi-final. Kroos himself scored 2 goals and assisted another one. The Brazilians now call Kroos Garçom, meaning waiter, because of his consistent ability to deliver accurate passes. Germany went on to win the World Cup that year. For his performance, Kroos was on the 10-man shortlist for the best player of the tournament, while the Castro Performance Index rated Kroos as the World Cup's top performer with a rating of 9.79 out of 10. He was named on the All-Star and Dream Team of the competition, and also received the award for the German Player of the Year. Not bad at all for the unassuming kid from Greifswald. For much of his career, Toni Kroos, like his passing, had proven to be consistent and reliable. However, for the Bayern Munich fans, the midfield magician was about to shock them all. Following a contract dispute with the club executives, Toni Kroos made the surprising decision to leave the club where he had first made his debut as a 17-year-old. You know him now as a Real Madrid legend, but did you know that Toni almost never wore the famous white of Los Blancos? Here's the story behind that. When Europe's top clubs heard that Kroos was willing to leave Germany, Manchester United came calling under then-manager David Moyes. Moyes convinced Toni to sign for United, and a contract was prepared to that effect. All that was left was for Kroos to put pen to paper, but then the Red Devils sacked David Moyes, and that deal never saw the light of day because the new manager, Louis van Gaal, decided against signing the German. Real Madrid took advantage of the opportunity immediately, and Carlo Ancelotti made a phone call to sway the German to the Spanish Giants. This sealed the deal, and Los Blancos secured the services of one of the world's finest playmakers on a 6-year contract for a mere 25 million euros, a paltry sum in the context of the modern game. Kroos' presentation to the fans was attended by thousands of fans who kept cheering and interrupting the speech of Florentino Perez, the club's president. Kroos made Bayern fans really angry at his press conference when he said that Real Madrid was the biggest club in the world. Bayern fans still hold his comments against him, as he was booed at the recent Champions League clash between his current and previous employers. They say that when you've hit the top, the only way to go is down. However, Toni Kroos has proven that fine wine does age better with time. In his first season with the club, his performances earned him a feature on the UEFA Team of the Year and the FIFA Pro World 11, further cementing his profile as one of the world's premier players. Kroos would go on to win successive Champions League trophies for Real Madrid, taking his individual tally to 5. He also has 5 FIFA Club World Cup medals playing for the Bernabeu faithful. His massive trophy haul for Real Madrid also includes 1 Copa del Rey, 4 Supercopa de España, 3 Super Cups, and 4 La Liga titles. For most of these trophies, Toni formed an indomitable midfield trio with Luka Modric and Casemiro. This trio is widely regarded as one of the best ever midfielders in the history of the game. Germany cannot follow up on the success of their 2014 World Cup win, as they suffered the embarrassment of a group stage exit in 2018. After the 2020 Euros, in which Germany crashed out in the round of 16, Kroos retired following heavy criticism for his performances. 4 years later, Julian Nagelsmann pulled off a massive heist by pulling Kroos back into the fold ahead of the 2024 European Championship. Despite his relatively quiet personality on the field, Kroos has courted off-field controversy on occasion. The much publicized fallout with the Bayern Munich faithful is one, but that is overshadowed by his infamous comments against teammate Mesut Ozil. Ozil publicly stated that he faced racism and disrespect before he retired from the German national team, but Toni branded those claims as nonsense, earning himself significant backlash for the lack of support for his teammate. Toni Kroos also went up against the Qatari, as he declared it wrong that the World Cup hosting right was awarded to the Arab nation. He cited the inhumane treatment of migrant workers and the discrimination against homosexuals as the reasons for his stance on the choice of hosts. Some fans will also remember the German footballer calling out other footballers like Antoine Griezmann and Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang over their goal celebrations. Another weird moment right there. Are football fans ready for a world after Toni Kroos? Probably a tough one to call. The grace and elegance he exudes in possession is really second to none. Real Madrid might really struggle to find another Toni Kroos to fill his boots. But until then, we'll stay glued to our seats and continue to enjoy the work of the man who sees everything.